The Merc with the Mouth finally joins the MCU in Deadpool and Wolverine, another joke-filled R-rated outing that's as meta as it is Marvel. If some of these zingers flew right over your head, you're not alone, and we're here to help. At the beginning of the movie, Deadpool unearths the skeleton of the Wolverine who died at the end of Logan, and to put it lightly, isn't very kind to the remains. Later, a TVA agent who's horrified to see what Deadpool has done gives his opinion about the whole thing. There are many ways that this agent could express his love of Wolverine. He could say he was a great hero. He could say he saved a lot of people. He could even say that he had great hair. But instead, he says that Wolverine is the only thing worth a to ever come out of Canada. That's a very specific jab at Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds. If you can believe anything Deadpool says, he's Canadian.
A hush falls over the crowd as rookie sensation Wade W. Wilson out of Regina, Saskatchewan lines up the shot.
And Ryan Reynolds definitely began his life story in Vancouver, British Columbia. Wolverine 2 was born in Canada despite the person who plays him, Hugh Jackman, being Australian. In the end, Deadpool does not take the insult lightly, either for himself or his real-life alter ego. In the montage toward the beginning of the movie in which Deadpool searches for a Logan to bring back to his universe, Henry Cavill makes a surprise appearance as the only version of Wolverine not played by Hugh Jackman. It allows Deadpool to take a fourth wall-breaking shot at the DC Extended Universe, something Cavill wouldn't do, but is probably happy to listen to. After Cavill turns around from working on his motorcycle and Deadpool notices that he's not Hugh Jackman, Deadpool says, "I can't believe the way they treated you down the street." Marvel's offices at Walt Disney Studios and DC Home Warner Brothers Studios are literally a mile apart from each other in Burbank, California. DC definitely did Henry Cavill dirty. Cavill played Superman for several movies and was preparing to return to the role when DC changed directions, letting Cavill go and replacing him with no warning. While this quote doesn't directly reference Cavill's DC legacy, if you know about the Marvel-DC rivalry, then down the street has an all-new meaning. While Cavill has remained a gentleman about the snub, Deadpool has no need to be. When Deadpool and Wolverine find themselves in the void, Deadpool, as the chattier one, feels he has to introduce Wolverine to those they meet and fill in any extra details just for fun. But one of those details hits a little close to home. At one point, Deadpool says he's usually shirtless, but he's let himself go since the divorce. Of course, Wolverine is not and has never been married, but those familiar with Hugh Jackman's love life will know that he recently divorced his wife of 27 years, Deborah Lee Furness. It's a rough little jab considering the divorce only happened in September 2023, but apparently Jackman was okay with including it. Of course, later, we learn that he hasn't let himself go one bit when Jackman reveals his torso in all its glory. The comment was just Deadpool's way of being snarky. Wolverine has perfect pecs, as usual. Deadpool gives himself the moniker Marvel Jesus, or MJ if you're nasty, because since Deadpool and Wolverine is the first Deadpool film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he'll be the savior that will help Marvel's fortunes rise from the ashes after some unfortunate box office bombs. However, it's also a reference to the Jacksons, and while many will think it's an allusion to Michael Jackson because of the MJ, this is specifically a callback to Janet Jackson, who said her name is Janet Miss Jackson, if you're nasty, in her 1986 hit song, Nasty. When Deadpool and Wolverine are taken to Cassandra Nova's headquarters in the Void, the Merc with a Mouth needs something to threaten the bad guys with, and he comes up with the perfect dig, at least if you don't like musical theater. He declares, quote, he'll sing the entire second act of Music Man with no warm-up. He's referring to Logan in this quote, and while Logan doesn't look much like a song and dance man, the person who plays him, Hugh Jackman, is. In fact, Hugh Jackman has had a whole career on Broadway, which has included starring as Harold Hill in The Music Man.
River City isn't in any trouble.
Then I'll have to create some.
He spent a year in the Broadway revival from December 2021 to January 2023 and received a Tony nomination for Best Actor for his performance, after already winning one in 2004 for another Broadway show, The Boy from Oz. So while singing without a warm-up might be hard, Hugh Jackman, and therefore Wolverine, could certainly do it. Indeed, he'd probably blow everyone away with his amazing musical stylings, despite Deadpool's bad take. Deadpool and Wolverine are stuck in the Honda Odyssey of an attractive Deadpool alternate when Deadpool says, "Friends don't let friends leave the house looking like they fight crime for the LA Rams." It's a thoughtful statement. Wolverine is wearing a blue and yellow suit that looks a lot like what the Los Angeles Rams play in. A few tweaks to the LA Rams uniform and it would be a perfect match. This was especially the case in the years when one of the NFL side's uniforms was all yellow with royal blue accents. But at least one version of the uniform is close enough today that Wolverine's suit will no doubt bring the team to mind. And actually, Wolverine really does look like a glorified football player when he's in full superhero mode. He even crouches toward the ground like football players do in a snap. Try to unsee it. We dare you. This line takes place in the Void when Deadpool and Wolverine have their big brawl in the Honda. At one point when Wolverine gets a bit too close to Wade's, bits, he declares, quote, "I'm telling Blake." This is another fourth wall breaking reference to, of course, Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively. The man who plays Deadpool has been married to Lively since 2012 and has 4 children with her. Reynolds enjoys referencing his wife and her projects in his work. In Deadpool and Wolverine, in addition to this line, he also proclaims there are 206 bones in the human body, 207 when I'm watching Gossip Girl. This, of course, is a reference to the show Lively is known for, and the fact that Reynolds gets happy when he sees her in it. So threatening Wolverine with tattling to the actress is all part of a day's work for Deadpool. Deadpool and Wolverine meet several heroes in the Void, including Jennifer Garner's Elektra. Garner appeared in Daredevil in 2003 and in her self-titled movie in 2005. Given the way that people remember those movies, spoiler alert, they weren't exactly electrifying. It's not surprising that Elektra ended up in the Void. And there were apparently many more heroes there too, including her version of Daredevil, played by Ben Affleck. That is until Cassandra dispatched him. When Deadpool learns this, he has a rare moment of sincerity, telling Elektra, quote, "Daredevil? I'm sorry." To this, Elektra says, "It's fine."
Why?
While that could be Elektra's stoic way of dealing with grief, it also has a double meaning. In real life, Garner was married to Affleck for 10 years, and they have 3 children together, but they split up in 2015 and finalized their divorce in 2018. Affleck got back together with former flame Jennifer Lopez in 2021, and the pair are now married. So yeah, the whole exchange is a cutesy little dig at her breakup with Ben. Gambit, played by Channing Tatum, is another hero who landed in the scrap heap of the Void in Deadpool and Wolverine, but his movie never even got made. In fact, Tatum spent years trying to get a Gambit movie off the ground and went through multiple directors for it before Disney canceled it after taking over Fox. Though Tatum is open to returning to the character, it seems unlikely, and therefore Gambit and Tatum's place in the Void makes perfect sense. So does Deadpool's quip when he asks, "Who's your dialect coach?" Gambit, who is from New Orleans, speaks with a Cajun accent, an aspect of the character that Tatum would have embraced.
These beignets needed me more than you did, mon ami.
Tatum's extreme accent is barely decipherable. Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, his real superpower, to mock Channing Tatum's portrayal. What dialect coach would let him get away with that? Wesley Snipes' Blade is another hero found in the Void. When the group of heroes are traveling to confront Cassandra and her lackeys, Blade comments that there's only been one Blade. While this seems like a passing boast, it's actually a reference to the fact that Marvel has had trouble trying to get a new Blade movie off the ground. While Mahershala Ali has been cast as the half-vampire, Marvel has been working on the movie since 2019. 2 directors have come and gone from the project, and it seems no closer to being filmed. So Blade may be correct. There may only be one Blade, at least in the movies. On TV, it's a different story because despite what Blade says here, there's already been another Blade. In 2006, Sticky Fingers portrayed Blade in the TV show Blade the Series. Though the series only lasted for a single 13-episode season, it was created by David S. Goyer, the man who wrote all 3 of Wesley Snipes' Blade films, so it had some pedigree. Still, after all the turmoil with the new Blade film, they may end up scrapping the whole thing, making Snipes the only Blade on the big screen.
You're not ready to roll with this?
When Deadpool and Wolverine jump through the portal provided by Cassandra from the Void, they come out on the other end in the parking lot of the place where Deadpool used to work, destroying a perfectly nice minivan in the process. It turns out Peter, played by Rob Delaney, just sold said minivan to a family of 4, and while the parents are horrified, their 2 boys are thrilled to see the 2 superheroes. Then Deadpool hits them with this quip about Wolverine, and more specifically Hugh Jackman. They're going to make him do this till he's 90. Wolverine has plenty of staying power in the comics, games, or cartoons. After all, someone can draw Wolverine forever. But Hugh Jackman doesn't boast Wolverine's regenerative healing powers in real life. In other words, he can't keep playing Wolverine in the movies forever. At some point, something has to give, although it doesn't seem to have happened yet. He said he was retiring from playing Wolverine after Logan in 2017, explaining his body can't take much more. But then his friend Ryan Reynolds called, and suddenly he was co-starring in Deadpool and Wolverine. And now that Marvel's got him, who knows when they'll let him go. When Deadpool pulls a bait-and-switch on Wolverine at the climax of the film, instead of treating the moment with the gravity it deserves, he does what he does best. Joking. "I'm Marvel Jesus," or Spock. Hard to say. As noted earlier, Deadpool refers to himself as Marvel Jesus throughout the film, and perhaps that's why he goes into the room where a deadly energy can kill him. After all, it was either going to be Deadpool or Wolverine, and though Wolverine volunteered, Deadpool decided he needed to do it. Not because he wanted to, but because people needed him to.
I am Marvel Jesus.
The more interesting piece of the quote is his reference to Spock, the Star Trek character famously played by Leonard Nimoy. Deadpool is referencing the ending of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and he's doing it because Deadpool's doing the exact same thing Spock does in that movie, sacrificing himself to save everyone. In fact, Deadpool even does a Vulcan salute, just like Spock does in The Wrath of Khan, before he perishes to save the Enterprise. Despite Deadpool's pending death, at least he gets to favorably compare himself to an iconic character.